Good morning. After a 49ers win, there is no time to rest because week 18 is here and everything is on the line for this football team, just the way that we thought it would go during this wild 2021 season. So 49ers beat the Texans. That video is already up from last night. I stayed up late to make sure that you guys got some content immediately following Trey Lance's first home start and his first win as an NFL starting quarterback. But we have to turn the page quick, and we have to address one of the 49ers' biggest concerns quickly with the Los Angeles Rams looming on the schedule, and the 49ers at just a 61% chance to make the playoffs. So they're more likely to make the playoffs than not, but they have to have something go their way this weekend. They either have to win against the Rams or they have to hope that the Saints lose to the Atlanta Falcons. And if the 49ers are going to beat the Rams, or if they're going to go further than that in the playoffs, they're going to have to find a way to cover against good quarterbacks. The defensive line for the 49ers is playing well. The safeties are playing well. The linebackers are playing really well. But that cornerback position is still really sketchy, even though there are some good trending signs of life that I'm going to discuss in this video. First of all, Emmanuel Moseley will definitely start when he's back, and he is close to returning, and that's great news for the 49ers. Moseley has a high ankle sprain. He's been on IR, but it is very possible that he's back for Week 18 against the Rams. That's at least what the 49ers have been optimistically targeting for a couple weeks now. We'll see if that's the case. It would help a lot if Moseley's back, because if you exclude Jason Verrett, who tore his ACL in Week 1, Emmanuel Moseley is hands down the 49ers' best cornerback. Point 2, Ambry Thomas played his most aggressive game at the point of reception against the Houston Texans. It's been fascinating to watch the progress of the rookie Ambry Thomas over the past few weeks. Of course, we didn't see him for several straight weeks at the start of this season because he wasn't physically strong enough yet to be on that field. I mean, Thomas opted out of the 2020 season at Michigan. He had colitis that caused him to lose 35 pounds in 2019 before that college season with the Wolverines. So strength was an issue even in college for him, but he was able to get away with it down the stretch of his career because of his quickness, because of his smarts. And the 49ers believed that investing that third-round pick in him would be worth it after time in a weight room. Well, he's gotten some time in an NFL weight room. He's taken it seriously. He's gotten stronger since training camp. He probably still needs another off season to really get to the point physically where he needs to be a truly viable NFL cornerback. But Ambry Thomas is now strong enough to make it work as a starter at the NFL level. And it's been fascinating to see him just, get thrown into the water head first, sink or swim situation a couple weeks ago, and he's starting to swim. He's starting to tread water. Right early on, I still remember the game against Cincinnati where Ambry Thomas was penalizing the 49ers to hell in that game. That performance from Joe Burrow wouldn't have brought the Bengals back in that game had Ambry Thomas not had that illegal hands to the face penalty that nullified the interception. There was another penalty a little bit later. It just, he was a liability out there. It wasn't good for the 49ers. But since then, he started to play as if he knows what he's doing. And the Atlanta game was a great example of that. Ambry Thomas was in position on every single one of the Falcons' big catches. He just wasn't able to win at the point of reception. So that's why it was important to me that Ambry Thomas won at the point of reception and delivered his most aggressive play at the point of reception against the Texans. He almost had a pick six, but he dropped the ball. Of course, you got to improve that. You have to catch the ball in that kind of situation because that's been a problem for the 49ers. Their defense hasn't been opportunistic enough in general over the years. So they want Ambry Thomas to hold on to that ball, but the fact that he broke so aggressively at the point of reception, the fact that he won at the point of reception against Houston is another sign of incremental progress that we've seen over the past few weeks. Again, even when Ambry Thomas was getting beaten against the Texans, he was consistently in good position. And that's something that you can't say about 34-year-old Josh Norman right now. He's not consistently in good position because he's getting roasted a lot. Norman got roasted again, defensive pass interference penalty, and that makes me wonder, do the 49ers go back to the Josh Norman well moving forward? Because they benched him yesterday in the fourth quarter, and they put Dontae Johnson in. Along those lines, Dontae Johnson is not a bad depth defensive back. He had the game-sealing pass breakup on 4th down and 2. That was all good for the 49ers, but we know who Dontae Johnson is, and that's not, viable day in, day out starter quality cornerback material. So we know Emmanuel Moseley, when he's healthy, is that top level, or not top level, but he's starter level cornerback material. Who do the 49ers pair on the other side? The 34-year-old Josh Norman is not doing that trick for them right now. He's responsible for so many of the 49ers' record pace pass interference yards. They've given up 360 yards on defensive pass interference this season, over 100 yards more than the second worst team in Tampa Bay. They're like a 255. 19 pass interference penalties lead the league. If the 49ers get to the playoffs, and I consider this Rams game on Sunday a playoff game because they're going to be facing a playoff team with a playoff QB. The rest of the way, if the 49ers have a glaring weakness in the second level and their pass rush isn't getting home every single snap, which is going to be the case, there's going to be times when the pass rush doesn't get home, then these QBs at the playoff level are going to victimize whoever that weak link at cornerback is, and they're going to start fishing for pass interference penalties, just like Aaron Rodgers did back in week 3 against the 49ers, and just like quarterbacks have done to the tune of 360 defensive pass interference yards against the 49ers this year. So, Norman strips the ball. He has 6 forced fumbles this year. That might still lead the NFL, but I'm not sure that he's a viable option in the postseason if pass interference isn't automatic against him whenever opponents just toss the ball up in his direction. And that's why the 49ers benched him yesterday. And, fittingly, Dontae Johnson committed a pass interference penalty on the very first play after Josh Norman was benched. That's why the 49ers lead the league, because these guys, pick up DPIs like it's their job. So in my opinion, the highest ceiling for the 49ers is an Emmanuel Moseley, Ambry Thomas cornerback combination. And I think this is the way that the 49ers might go, because Thomas's improvement has been so noticeable over the past few weeks. Now, it is sketchy thin ice for the 49ers to be walking on, entering a game against Stafford and the Rams. And then what would it be? If the playoffs started today and the 49ers were the 6th seed, it'd be Brady and the Buccaneers in the wild card round. And even if the 49ers got past that, it'd be Rodgers and the Packers at Lambeau Field in the divisional round. So you could see Stafford, Brady, Rodgers. The challenge just gets harder and harder every single week if the 49ers keep on moving through this gauntlet. And you could see how the cornerback position is going to be vulnerable against these high-level QBs. But you also see Ambry Thomas growing, and you don't see Josh Norman growing. And we've already seen what happens when Norman, he got hurt early in that game against the Packers, but that was one of the PI fests that the 49ers had this year. We've already seen the 49ers get victimized for those 360 defensive pass interference yards. And we have now seen Ambry Thomas improve significantly from week to week. He's in the right position. He might not be quite physically strong enough yet, but he did win a little bit of the point of reception against the Houston Texans on Sunday. And I really do think that there's a good vibe around Ambry Thomas. The fact that Josh Norman was benched mid-game yesterday doesn't bode well for him. It's Emmanuel Moseley's job on one side when he comes back, and I really think that the 49ers have a lot to think about on the other side, and they might want to go with the rising tide, and that's Ambry Thomas. I don't know if you guys agree. You could leave it in the comment section here. I'll take a look at a couple of the questions, and I will get going with another video here in a little bit. The 49ers pass rush, by the way, is still their best defense. It's a rush over coverage team. Tip your cap to Chris Kasarik, who has developed a pass rush that's balanced and is able to pressure the quarterback even when Nick Bosa is getting all of that blocking attention. Only one pressure for Bosa yesterday, but everybody else racked up the pressure. 7 for Arden Key and only 19 pass rushing snaps. 5 for Sansa Mebucom. Jordan Willis, I think, had 4 pressures. Rush over coverage is so key when there are these kind of questions at the cornerback position. So that's going to buoy the 49ers. That's going to insulate them a bit, but they still need replacement level play. And, with Josh Norman, this is a good question from Luke Luna. Do you think Norman is humble enough to handle a benching? Or can we not trust his effort right now? I'm not sure. I don't know the answers to these questions, but I do know that Emmanuel Moseley absolutely needs to start when he comes back. And I do know that the 49ers did bench Josh Norman in the fourth quarter of that game. So maybe you start Josh Norman because he's a veteran and you trust him to be decently stable at the start of games, but you have a quick hook And you have Ambry Thomas ready to go. You have Dontae Johnson, who's proven to be decent depth for the 49ers, ready to go, because you cannot afford repeated, egregious, massive pass interference yards to go against you, which has been the case when the 49ers get burned downfield, and which will be the case against these great quarterbacks who they're set to face coming up. My endorsement would be that Ambry Thomas, Emmanuel Moseley cornerback combination, but I do see the potential value, because I do think that Norman still does bring you something. I just think that as we get further and further down the line, he's going to become more and more of a vulnerable target, because he's not getting any younger. The season's not getting any shorter. We're getting into, that time of the year where everybody's beaten up. And we're also getting into the time of the year where quarterbacks are able to pass interference fish. They're able to victimize defensive soft spots. The better the QB, the more vulnerable the particular cornerback. So there are no great options for the 49ers here. It's too bad that Jason Verrett got hurt, but somehow, some way, they have to cobble it together. And to me, this cornerback question is one of the biggest issues facing the 49ers moving forward into what might be a must-win game against the Rams, and what's going to be a hell of a playoff push if they do indeed get in. All right, guys. One more question here. What is the status of Damico Ryan? He was higher in the depth chart early in the year. Did he regress, or did Thomas just step up? I think it's really clear that Ambry Thomas just stepped up. Ambry Thomas wasn't strong enough at the start of the year to go mano-a-mano at the NFL level. He's now, he's hit that replacement level strength. He's strong enough now. I think he's going to be a really good player after an offseason in an NFL weight room. But he was picked ahead of Damico Ryan for a reason. He was behind him early in the year for a reason. He physically wasn't there after opting out of that 2020 season. But I think you've just seen Ambry Thomas leapfrog Ryan. And now it's a question of Thomas or Josh Norman for me, because I'm not going to think this is Thomas or Dontae Johnson. That ship's already sailed. Thomas is ahead of Dontae Johnson. The question now is, will Thomas be ahead of Norman when Emmanuel Moseley returns? That's, everybody's going to be talking about the quarterback position. I'll talk about it too. That's important. But this corner spot is so, so important. All right. Well, yeah, we'll see. I think, this is probably what's going to end up happening. Hopefully the 49ers can trust Norman enough situationally to pair with Johnson and not leave him in plug and play mode from here on out. I think you mean to pair with Emmanuel Moseley, right? Or are you talking about substitution patterns with Dontae Johnson? I do think that it might be a plug-and-play situation for the 49ers cornerback room. I think that maybe, you manage emotions in the room, you manage play, and outside of Moseley, you recognize that you have limitations with Thomas being a rookie, but he's a developing rookie, and with Norman being a veteran who's, too old right now to be, prime quick, and obviously is a bit of a liability in other ways. I think if you mix and match, you might be able to get it done. And maybe I should close with this. The 49ers have been able to make this work defensively, and this is the article I wrote yesterday. 3.6 yards per play was the fourth best performance of the Kyle Shanahan era defensively, behind only that 2019 Packers game and the Rams game and a Washington game. Damico Ryan is making this work despite leaking oil at the cornerback position. So Damico Ryan deserves some respect on his name here, because it's not easy in the National Football League when the cornerback position can get so easily exposed against good quarterbacks especially. And the 49ers have, plugged a lot of holes that have been leaking over the course of the year defensively. They started the season below average on that side of the football, especially week 3 onward to about mid-season. But around mid-season, this defense really started turning things around. Damico Ryan has grown on the job. He's worked through injuries. Chris Kasarik deserves a huge bow. He's developed the pass rush into a balanced unit. I talked about that a few minutes ago, and that's fed into the coverage. But Ryans has found a way to more or less mask some of these coverage deficiencies. It hasn't come without hiccups. We talked about the massive struggles on third down against Tennessee, for example. Those cost the 49ers a game. But yesterday was an awesome performance for the 49ers defense, and they're going to need more moving forward. They're going to need Ryans to continue growing, continue delivering these great coordinating performances moving forward, and they're going to need to find a way to make that cornerback position work. So you could leave your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you subscribe. I got some errands to go run. More videos coming later, so buckle up. It's going to be a fun week. Everybody take care.